So we're getting to the final stretch of Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry this weekend. And this fight is very interesting due to the fact that Ian Garry is an opponent Islam has just never seen before. He's taller, he's comfortable on the ground, and he game plans very well in big fights. But at this point, I feel like Islam has got to be one, or if not the best grappler the UFC has ever seen. I mean, his ability to just constantly clinch, use pressure, and just chain all his attacks together is what makes him so dangerous. And after some final film study on this fight, I think we have ourselves a definitive answer on what's going to happen this Saturday. As far as game plan goes, Team Islam is the best this sport has ever seen. But past fights, they actually haven't put together a complicated game plan. So against JDM, he was really just spamming high kicks, which in turn had JDM keep his guard high enough to where Islam just beat him to the hips like every single time. And that was really it. He repeatedly just did that for 5 rounds. JDM with the high guard, Islam making sure it stays there by hitting the high kick. And that's how he was able to win that fight. That was essentially just the game plan. Against Moicano, obviously, he didn't have a game plan for him because it was a short notice fight. He was supposed to fight Arman, and he really just took him down very easily. No game plan there. The Dustin Poirier fight, though, there was very little game plan from Islam if you look back at it. I really think he went into that fight thinking, I'm just going to grab him and submit him any way I want. And it obviously didn't go that way for at least the first 3 rounds. They really underrated Dustin so much that Poirier just gave him one of his toughest fights at lightweight. He ended up getting bloodied up, cut it up pretty good. So now if we're going against Ian Garry here, Islam has a couple of roadblocks that he usually doesn't have to deal with. For one, his favorite takedown is the single leg. He always goes for this. And what he usually does is he kind of hikes up his opponents to trip them. And as you can see here, he kind of puts them up in the air, trips him with the other leg, and it's just something he's not going to have against Ian Garry. He's just so tall. It's going to be pretty hard to do. Bilal, he tried to do a similar takedown on Ian, and he just couldn't do it. And with Ian, it's just going to be physically impossible because Ian is just so tall. His balance is just going to keep him grounded. And I think little things like this are just going to be a problem for Islam. He's going to have to use different variations of success that he's not normally used to. And I'm sure him and his team have game plan for this. But I really think there's an answer to all of this. The 2 words for Islam to walk away with the longest streak in MMA history and to defend his welterweight belt, sliming Ian Garry, putting him back to the line, I think it's 2 words. Muay Thai. When Ian Garry is fighting smaller opponents, he gets very low in his stance, as you can see here. And he reacts heavy to takedowns. And in the Bilal fight, you can see this. Every time Bilal would feint the takedown, Ian would just bite so heavy. And right here, feints the takedown. Ian just leaves his head open for a potential high kick from Islam. Bilal didn't take advantage of this, but Islam's Muay Thai is so good. We've seen the kick he produced against Volkanovski. He could get his leg up high. He knows the timing and everything when it comes to Muay Thai. So the way I see for Islam, he could just fake the shot and high kick. I mean, that could be a rare out of nowhere shot that he could hit. And I'm sure they've been practicing this. And Islam is a rare breed of fighter where you are just terrified of being taken down by him because it can essentially cost you the whole round. And then all of a sudden, 5 rounds later, he does this over and over. The fight's over. And I really think the feints will just be there for Islam when it comes to the takedowns. Now, for Ian, we haven't seen him in a full fight camp for this big of a fight before. He fought Bilal on a short notice. He fought Prates on, I think it was like a month notice. Bilal was like a week notice. And, he was still able to make easy work. And same with Shavkat, another one. Very short notice fight. He ended up fighting him and giving him his toughest challenge yet. This is a fight Ian's been preparing for since maybe even before the Bilal fight. I mean, he's been the obvious contender, so what exactly does Ian Garry with 6 months of game planning even look like? And another thing about Ian Garry, y'all, he's very delusional, and I think this will seriously work out for him. He really thinks and believes that he can go in there and finish Islam to win the belt. JDM, he wasn't delusional. You could see in his face right here, he thought, maybe I could beat Islam. I mean, I have the tools for it, but can I get it done? You could just see on his face before the fight and, in between the rounds that he was just terrified of Islam. If Garry gets held down for an entire round, I think he's going to come back up with a huge grin on his face, fully thinking he can still win this fight. And being delusional can really get you far into this sport. I mean, you look recently with Sean Strickland and Hamzat. He wasn't discouraged in round one after being controlled by Chimaev. He fully believed that he could still win, and he eventually did. He played the long game. Ian's success this Saturday is slicing up Islam, getting him frustrated, point fighting, and just running as much as possible. Obviously stopping takedowns, and maybe, just maybe, I think he could win a decision if he puts all these tools together. To start the fight, he'll be on his bike, making Islam, bringing the offense to him, keeping the distance. And it's all about how Islam initiates his offense. We saw glimpses of him doing so against JDM, moving him back. But doing it against Ian is going to be a very difficult thing to ask of. Now, there was a time in the past where people doubted Islam beating JDM, where they said, well, yes, he's done this against guys in lightweight, but he hasn't done it with somebody as strong as JDM. And he was just still able to do it. He was able to just control JDM for 5 rounds. And a lot of people say, well, Jack defended takedowns against Bilal. He's just too big. Islam's biting off more than what he can chew. And every single time he just comes up to the occasion. So, I really find it hard to see Islam not being able to replicate that against Ian Garry. If Islam doesn't follow the game plan of getting Ian to the fence, taking his back, go to work for 5 rounds, then, I don't think he can get the job done. If he goes into this weekend with the same mindset from the Dustin fight, thinking, well, I'm just going to walk Ian down and grab him, I don't think that'll work. You have to specifically game plan for this level of threat. And I think Khabib and Javier Mendez, that whole team, has been preparing to do so, and I think they'll really get it done. I'll be surprised if Islam finishes Ian, and if he does this, the whole GOAT conversation it gets taken to higher places. He's building a crazy resume. These aren't just regular guys. These are killers, and he's beating them up a weight class, defending the belt. So let's say Islam wins and defends against Pratis. He takes him down and submits him. What else do we have to see? So I think the definitive answer we're coming up with is that Islam Makhachev defeats Ian Garry this Saturday, but it's not going to be easy whatsoever.